Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nedarim Peivav. We are right in the middle of a sugya. So we had a Mishnah back on Pehei Amid Aleph. A wife says to her husband, look, all my income, all my work, all my effort, whatever I do is usher to you. It works. Question, how does it work? She's committed, she's bound to him. There's a shibud. She must cook and bake and provide this income as stipulated in great detail in Gemara and Ksubas, Samach Dalet. So how does she have the right, how does she have the ability to make it an usher on him, if it's sort of already his? Okay, so that was the question. So the answer was, well, we're speaking about post-divorce. Okay, so the neder will affect anything that transpires once they separate, after which he's no longer in charge. Question was, it's a davar shaloi bala olam. That situation is not yet in existence. She's currently married, not divorced. The Gemara answered. She said, my hands are kaddish to their maker, meaning the Isser pertains to the hands, which are here, which are tangible. So anything that those hands produce are asa to you. That works. But the question was, those hands are mishubad to the husband. So back to square one. They're committed to him. She's bound. She has a shibud to produce for the husband. The answer is, well, she's referring to the post-divorce status. L'chi megarsha. My hands are going to be asur regarding you with respect to post-divorce. Well, the Gemara asks on that, well, right now, we're not yet divorced. How would this work? How can she make an isra now for down in the future? That's where we're holding right now. Peivav Amid Aleph on top. Amar of Ilah. It works. You can do that. And as the Ran explains, the guf is hers. Husband never has control of the guf. He doesn't own the guf. He has a shibud on the ma'asi yodayim, on the income. But ultimately, it's her guf. It's in her hands, so to speak. And therefore, she has the ability to make an isra on those hands pertaining to to the income which might come about via those hands post-divorce. Amar Ilu. Uma Ilu. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a precedent to this idea. For instance, a person says, Ruvain tells Shimon, I have a field here which I'm about to sell to you. Right? But let me stipulate as follows. I have an interest in making this belong to the Beis HaMikdash, making it a Hegdish. But I'm selling it to you. Right. But I have plans to rebuy it, to repurchase it from you. Then, at that point, take Kaddish. I want it to be Hegdish. Mila Kacha. Does it not work? Of course it does. Right? So even though he's about to lose ownership, he's about to sell it, but right now he has it. He plans on rebuying it, so he can make a conditional Hegdish. I'm applying Hegdish now so that it becomes activated once I repurchase that field. It works. Here as well, explains the Ran. Ultimately, it's in her hands. Her hands are hers. The fact that she has to give her husband and provide for him, that's like selling. That's like something which she's committed to do on a daily basis. I'm meant to give you, I'm meant to be meshubah to provide for you on a daily basis. But right now, her hands are hers. And she intends on making it completely usher on him once she's divorced. You can do that. Maskeflo Rav Yirmiyah. Rav Yirmiyah disagrees. He says, there's still a difference between the two cases. You can't use the halacha of the sold field as a precedent, as a basis for the Isser Neder on her Masir Yadayim, which are really his. The Masir Yadayim, the actual income is his. He has a claim on that. It's really his. Maskefla Rav Yirmiyah Midami. How do you compare the two? In the case of the field that I'm selling to you, well, hashta biyadihi. Currently, it's Reuven's. It's totally his. It's as yet unsold, and therefore he can activate a hegdish on that. But the isha biyada lahagdish masiyadeh. Let's look at the income at the masiyadeh. The isha is meant to give her husband. That's not hers. So he didn't reckon with this, element of hand ownership. As Iran explains, he didn't go with that. The fact is, let's focus on the topic at hand. Let's focus on the subject matter. What is the Isur Kainam pertaining to? The Masir Daim, that is not hers. Halay Dami, I will suggest a comparison and prove my point. You know what this can be compared to? A different case which really doesn't work. Reuben tells Shimon, remember I already sold you that field? I know it's yours, but I have plans for that field. When I ultimately repurchase from you, take Kaddish. I want it to become Hegdish. Mikacha, does that work? Of course not. Because currently that field is totally out of Reuben's possession. Here as well, the Masay Daim are his. She cannot affect Isser on them. Maskefla Rav Papa. So now Rav Papa is going to disagree with Rav Yirmiyah. He says, your comparison to the sold field, how do you compare me, dummy? How do you compare the two? Gabi Zvina, in the case of the sold field, Psika Milsayu, it's sort of absolute and disconnected. It's it's totally not his. He gave it away. The field, the payroll is nothing. Is left in the hands of Reuven. How could he affect any Isser on it? But Gabi Isha, when it comes to the case of the Isha, who owns her, she owns herself. Mipsika Milsa. How do you, have the same, absoluteness by the Isha? Meaning, sure, the Masya Daima committed to the husband, but her guf, her hands, which is what she's focusing on, is what is considered the source of the Masya Daim, and the Isras that pertain to the hands, that's hers. Holy Dami, I'll give you a comparison to a different case where, in fact, it works. Reuven tells Shimon, I gave you that field as a collateral, so it's really mine, but it's mishubah to you. That's comparable to the case of the yadayim, which are part of the isha's guf, which belong to her, but the shibud is the husband, so sort of like an in-between case. That's a good precedent, a good comparison. Let's draw from there to our case. This field which I have committed to you, which I have provided to you as a collateral, when I ultimately redeem that field from you, I pay up that loan, I take it totally back. Tikadish, I want it to become Hegdish. Does it not work? Of course it does. Because ultimately the actual field, the guf of the sada, was always in the hands of the borrower of Reuven, who's stipulating this condition. Here as well, the guf, the hands of the isha, were always hers, and therefore she can affect Isra on them. Maskefla. Rav Shisha Beider Aviti is like a seesaw going back and forth. He has a problem with this. You're comparing it to a mashkin, midami. How do you compare the two things? Sadeh, when it comes to the field, which he gave as a mashkin, biyadei lif daisai. Ultimately, the borrower, Leive, who gave it as a collateral, the actual owner of the field, biyadei lif daisai, it's within his ability to always redeem, to take back that field by paying up his loan. And we know a klal and shas, something which is biyada is not called mechusar masa. Something which is in one's ability to do is considered very close to reality. It's as if it's done. We can view it as though it's done because it's here in potential. So therefore, we can fully understand how he can make it hekdesh. But isha biyada lizgarish, does the isha then have the ability to generate, to activate divorce, and ultimately regain control over her hands and the income produced by those hands. She can't do that. Holy dummy, I'll give you a good comparison, a good matchup to this, and prove my point. Reuben tells Shimon, this field which I have already given to you as a mashkin, and it was a set, stipulated mashkin, a 10-year term. Okay? But then when I ultimately get it back from you, I want it to become Hegdish. Miloi Kacha. Does it not work? So basically, he's actually proving from this case that it would work by the Isha as well. So if Shisha just had a problem with the comparison to the, case that Rav Papa mentioned, he says that's not a good comparison, because over there, he has the koyach to redeem it. The Isha does not have a koyach to change her status. I'll give you a good example, which will actually prove our case, but it's a better example than yours. The case where it was already given as a mashkin, and it's a 10-year mashkin, in which case he can't just go and walk over to him tomorrow and take it back. He's bound by the 10-year, deal. So it's as comparable to the Isha. It's not within his ability to change status, and still we say he's assuming that it works. We like Kacha. He's assuming misvara that it works, because ultimately I'm the owner of the field, and here as well the Isha is the owner of her guf, and even though she cannot change her status, she can't make herself migureshes, but the fact that she's the owner, and she can make a neder now which will be activated after divorce, when she regains total control over her Masri Yadayim. Rav Ashi is going to disagree in halacha. He's going to say like this: you're using the mashkin, the 10-year mashkin as a precedent to justify the halacha by the Isha. How do you compare the two? Hasam kitz. In the case of the mashkin, true. Currently, it's out of my hands. It's in your hands for 10 years, but it's a predictable situation. We know, it's defined. After 10 years, I get it back. And that explains why I can still have, access to that field. I can still do something. I can still make it hegdish for the future. I'm still, enough there. But Isha mi isla kitzusa, but Isha, is there a set term? We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe she'll never get divorced. So that explains, that lends to argue that she cannot make it hegdish now. So that's the bottom line. We're stuck. We're stuck back with the question: how can the Isha go ahead and make her Masri Yadayim usher to her husband, even if the intention is to make it usher after divorce? It's not predictable. It's not something that she can manipulate and bring about. Maskal Rav Ashi midami hasam kids Isha mi isla kitzusa. So how does it work? Ella Omar Rav Ashi. I'll explain to you why koinam is different than hegdish. Shani koinamus, the isser of a neder, is totally different. The chikdushas haguf dami. You see, it's different than hegdish, where Shmuel told us yesterday you can't be magdish something which is not yet here. Ein adam magdish davar shelo b'olam. But here it's different, because when you make something asr by way of koina, by way of neder, it's very internal. It's like kedushas haguf. You see, there are two types of kedushas when it comes to hegdish. There's kedushas dama, monetarily kaddish. You take an item, you say this thing should be kaddish, so that it can be used towards korban. It's going to be sold, and its value applied to korban. That's called kedushas dama. It's not inherently. It's not actually kaddish. It's only monetarily kaddish. Koinim is different. Koinim is kedushas haguf. It affects the actual chefta. Remember, we had back on that base on my base. Nedarim is isur chefta. The use of the item is asr. The isur applies to the actual item itself. In which case, says Rav Ashi, despite the fact that a husband has a shibud on those yadayim pertaining to Masri Yadayim, it's his income. But that is a limited claim, is a limited ownership. It's only a monetary ownership. It's monetary access. It's like balus on the damim, but she's going much deeper. She's going much further than that. She's actually affecting the actual hands of hers. The chikdushas haguf dami, and that overrides his shibud. So forget about, down the line, down the road, the future. Forget about the future. Right now, she can make her maser yadayim aser to her husband because it's being done by the way of her hands. And that's an isser of guf. The actual chayfetz is aser to him. And that overrides, it supersedes his monetary shibud on her hands. The chikdushas haguf dami. It's like kedushas haguf of a carbon. Uked as Rabbi tells us regarding kedushas haguf of a carbon. So we're just comparing it to the real carbon to kainam. Just like over there we have this concept of kedushas haguf, which overrides everything, which is less than that, overrides all types of monetary issues. Here as well, the kainam, which is a sort of guf-related isser, overrides his claim, which is merely monetarily. These are three examples of statuses which affect the actual item. Hegdish, as we explained, that kedushas haguf on an animal. So you say this animal is going to be kaddish for an oilam. Chametz and shikhr. What are these three things? And what does it mean, mafkiyin midei shiva? They override claims and shibudim. The Ran explains, when it comes to Hegdish, we're speaking that he took his animal and he used it as a poitiki, sort of a collateral, to the malva. But then he takes that same animal and makes it an oila. That's it, it's over. The poitiki is gone, the shibud is gone. It turned into a carbon. Kedushas haguf overrides any shibud that the malva may have on this animal. Chametz is a case where a Jew took chametz and used it as a napoitaki. Again, this is like a type of collateral that you can, a guy who's the malva can actually claim, his chay from this chametz. So it's earmarked to be used as an asset for repayment of the loan. And then Pesach comes along, and that's stronger than the fact that I committed it to you, Mr. Guy. Pesach says, chametz which belongs to a yid is now usher. It's inherently usher. So it becomes usher, and we disregard the fact that it was bound to the guy, and we don't consider it non-Jewish owned chametz. Rather, it's Jewish owned chametz which becomes usher. Third case is shikhr. Again, he took an eved. I took my eved and made it. I bound it to your chayiv. I made an apoitiki to the malva, and then I released the eved. I let him go. Shikhr. That affects the actual slave. He's free to go. He's no more bound to the malva. These three things are mafkim with a shibud here as well. The neder pertaining to her yodayim is inherent, is pertaining to the actual item, and therefore it overrides the shibud of the baal, and that's why the neder works. Asks the Gemara 1 second, if that's the rationale behind the halacha, why wait until divorce? Mishnah says the concern is post-divorce. Then her maser yadayim aser to the husband. When did she make the neder? Now. What does the neder pertain to? The actual item, which in this case are her hands, right? And as such, it overrides his shibud. Well, then it becomes aser now. Why wait till later? That's the gersa we have, but the Bach brings and other Refarshim say, based on the Gemara in Yevamos, that the Gemara answers like this. True. Technically speaking, she has a right to make it asr now, but there's a gersa al muha rabbanon l'shibuda de baal. The rabbanon were looking after the shalom bayis of Jewish families, and they elevated, they reinforced husband's koyach that it does not have an effect right now. It doesn't have an immediate effect. They gave him a stronger koyach. Perhaps it's based on the idea of hefker based in hefker. Bottom line is, we don't reckon with her with her neder, and therefore he has a koyach to take that income so long as they're married. But once they're divorced, then the neder kicks in, and the neder that she made way back during marriage, pertaining to the yodayim, which is like a kedusha guf, it is now activated, is now reckoned with, and it becomes asur. Okay, so easy Gemara. Bottom line, how does an isha make her masay daim asur to her husband post divorce? The answer is because kainim is a sort of isser haguf, which overrides his shibud mamain, and therefore it works. The only reason why it doesn't work now is because of a special takanas chacham. Okay, let's end off with one Mishnah here. We know that a husband has the koyach to do hafara, or to confirm, to certify the neder by way of hakama. But let's say he was mistaken in terms of the facts. Nadra ishtai. Really, his wife made the neder. V'savar shenadra bitoi. He mistook the voice for his daughter, and as a result, he failed to address the neder properly. Nadra bitoi, or the other way around, it was his daughter. V'savar shenadra ishtai, he's thinking his wife was the one who made the neder, and as such, he acted upon that neder in a way which he wouldn't have had he have known, the nature of the neder. Another example is in terms of the actual neder itself. Nadra ben nazar. His wife made a neder to be a nazar, and he mistook that for something else. Nadra ben korban. He misunderstood. He thought she made a neder, of isur korban, that the wine should be asur like just a neder, not a nazar. Nadra ben korban, or it was a neder ben korban. V'savar shenadra ben nazar. He's thinking that she's a nazar. Nadra ben te'enim. He thought he heard her abstaining from figs. V'savar shenadra. No, she actually did abstain from figs. V'savar shenadra ben anavman. He mistook her words. He's thinking that she's speaking about grapes. Or another ben anavman. She made a neder against grapes. V'savar, and he figures shenadra ben atein was against figs. In all these cases, since his reaction was mistaken, was based on false premises, he has the ability to come back and do his hafara again, because hakama or hafara betos is worthless. Okay, we'll meet again tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.